We'll come back to maybe one more story at the end, but let's learn a ma'amar that you have in front of you from the HaKadosh. From this week's parasha, one of the very important questions that the Mefarshim are dealing with on the parasha is how could it be that a Rasha like Bilam was zochet to nevuah? From the Gemara and also from the Rambam, it's very clear that in order for a person to have nevuah, he needs to be a very big tzaddik, a Chacham, and ashir, many different criteria for a person to be zochet to nevuah. So how is it that Bilam, who was the opposite of all of these qualities, that he had nevuah? That's the question the Mefarshim are dealing with. Chazal already tell us, Chachamim tell us, that the reason why is because zekmochok, that in order that the Umot HaUlam should not be able to say, Shelo yitein lahem pitchon peh, to say, had you given us nevuim, we also would have done tshuva. So Hashem gave them nevuah to Bilam to basically to silence them. They shouldn't have any pitchon peh. It's a kmochok, which would really explain the connection between chukat balak, that sometimes we read the two of them together. Chukat balak is like saying, like, zeh shenitan nevuah lebilam zeh kmochok. Chukat balak. There are other explanations which are given. Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid in his Sefer HaGimatriot, it's called, he uses a lashon like this: Lama zacha Bilam lenevuah. How was he zocher to nevuah? Listen to this chidush. V'shahayakov chaf shanim imo v'lamad nihag kedushato. Because since Yaakov spent 20 years with Bilam, Bilam was able to learn nihag kedushato, minhagim shel kedusha. Isn't that amazing? Of course, he's referring to the sword that is brought down on the Arizal, that the neshama of Bilam is the neshama of Lavan. Right? Otherwise, did Bilam ever meet Yaakov? They lived totally different time periods. But since Lavan is the neshama of Bilam, and Yaakov spent 20 years in the house of Lavan, so that's what he means. For 20 years, he observed Yaakov Avinu, and by observing Yaakov carefully, he learned what he calls minhag nevuah. So I see from this, Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, a very interesting havana on this inyan of the nevuah of Bilam, and I think he's answering the question. The pashtus of what he's saying sounds like that Bilam was a big tzaddik. That's why he was zochet to nevuah. He was the Talmud of Yaakov Avinu. But of course that can't be because Bilam is a Rasha. But I think the lashon of Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid is very meduyak. He says, Lamad mimenu nihag kedushato. Nihag kedusha means minhagim shel kedusha. Minhagim means kamo misafa v'lachutz. He was not Yaakov. Yaakov was bipnimiuto kedusha. Kedoshin kadosh Yaakov. Bilam was only to observe on the outside what Yaakov is doing, and he practiced the actions of Yaakov Avinu, but it haya b'lotochen. It haya b'shum pnimiut. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said like this: because you are noheg b'kedushatcha kamo Yaakov Avinu, ani noten lecha nevuah kamo minhag. Kazeh. As if to say, you're so much into minhagim, how a person looks on the outside, I'll give you nevuah on the outside. And look what happened to nevuah on the outside. He tries to see nevuah to make chalot of Bnei Israel, and Hashem made brachot. Because it's only on the outside. Ze lo haya b'pnimiyuto. Nachon. The HaKadosh has a very well-known answer to this question, how it is. It's a mamash chidush. He even says about himself, we take a look, it's double-sided, but the one that has on it, or Hachaim, Biur, or Hachaim, that page. If you take a look, Vayasem Hashem davar befi. It says, Vayasem Hashem davar befi Bilam. So look at the words of the HaKadosh. Mikra zeh kvar kishtu rishonim b'pirusham v'dashotam. This pasuk has already been decorated. The HaKadosh always writes very poetically. Very decorated by the early Mefarshim to explain this. However, Makam hichinu lanu bo. They have left us a place to say a perush in this which has never been said before. What does he say? V'nireh, and it appears to me, ki lefi sheratza Hashem legalot atidot v'dvarim niflaim mitavot asher yagiu l'Yisrael. Because the most marvelous nevuot would be given to Bilam. He's the only one in the Torah who prophesizes about the Zman of Yemot HaMashiach. Hashem was giving him amazing things to tell us. V'ratza shitgalu al yedei Bilam navi ha'umot, and he wanted that Bilam from the Nevi'ei Umot HaOlam should be the one to teach us this, to tell us this. L'farsei ma'alat am kadoshu lifnei kol ha'umot, because that will be a time that it will be clear to everyone the ma'alah b'nei Yisrael amongst the nations. Vasha tavona l'Yisrael mi'atavot v'acharit hayamim, about the amazing goodness which is awaiting for us, b'ezrat Hashem soon, v'acharit hayamim. The kilayon ha'umat al yad Yisrael levasof, and the destruction that Bnei Yisrael will do to our enemies at the end of time. V'yadu ha'umat mipi nevi'im advarim kichtavam, ha'beitu aliyot ha'nimshachot liYisrael nignim v'nistarim. Ulefi she'adam zeh hu adam mufrak b'ki'ur v'ti'ur v'shikut. So because Bilam was the filthiest and the lowest of the low, but Hashem Dafka had an inyan that he wanted to give him Nevuah Kazeh. So Hashem needed to make an Eitzah, like the Mefarshim we were dealing with here. It's a stira. How can he prophesy Baruch HaKodesh such amazing Nevuah? It's not a zivug here. What he needed to say, and the person who needed to say it. So here comes HaKadosh with his chidush. So Hashem said, I can make this work by putting a holy word in his mouth, but at the same time, shelo yitanef, that it won't become dirty. How is that? Hashem put some type of a mechitza in the mouth of Bilam. So even though the word was in the mouth of Bilam, it was not in the mouth of Bilam. He put a chatzitza mechitza b'peh of Bilam. V'hu ma'amar, and this is what the pasuk is telling us. Vayasem Hashem davar b'fi Bilam. He put a davar acher in his mouth. To separate between the two of them. So the mouth of Bilam was in one place, and the Ruach HaKodesh was in another place. It's separated between Hamedaber and Hadibor. So says HaKadosh. Now that it says Vayasem Hashem davar b'fi Bilam, now that it put the machitza in your mouth, ko tedaber. Now you can speak. That's the end of the pasuk. Ruach HaKodesh medaber. The Chazal say b'chol makom ko. It says lashon shel kedusha. Kol hanaviim ko amar Hashem. Ko tedaber, to teach you that the nevuah Bilam ze lo haya mitzad hatumah. It's haya mitzad hakdusha. But we have a problem. Says HaKadosh, there's no problem. Vayasem Hashem davar b'fi Bilam. In his mouth there was something there. Asa mechitza b'glal zeh hayav shel ledaber.
That's the reason it was not klala. It was bracha.
Nachon. Take a look at the back where he adds on the bottom. He says on the pasuk, if you go to the on the lower paragraph on the bottom, it says O efshar. He adds something here. O efshar shenitkaven lomar ki meyachel metzapeh lasim Hashem davarav b'fi Bilam. He says alashon halo et asher Hashem omer ani eshmor ledaber. Eshmor means to watch, but it also means that I look forward to something. It says vaviv shamar hadavar. Nachon. So here too, he says eshmor ledaber. I'm looking forward to saying the words that Hashem is putting in my mouth. He's looking forward to it. Why? Says HaKadosh. I'm looking forward to every word of this nevuah. The sweetness. How sweet it is, the taste of Dvarim Shekudusha on the mouth of a person who speaks it. But even Bilam, and he adds, Hagam Shasa Hashem Befiv Davar, Pirashnu, even though there was a Mechitza. So you would think that he wouldn't be able to taste anything. Afal Pichin, the Tam is so strong that even though there was a Mechitza in his mouth, he was able to taste the sweetness. Toameh Hachaim Zachu, about the pleasures and the sweetness and the delicacies that the Jewish people have coming in contact with Kedusha. Which comes to teach us that we learn Torah every day and we say the Diburim of Tefillah every single day. And here Bilam, he had one opportunity. And he said, Halava, that I should have more words like this. Because the words are so sweet to be able to say. And every day we have the opportunity to learn Torah.
Hashem talked through the mouth of the Bilam.
That's right.
Wow.
So that's another answer to your. Once you're mentioning, I'll say another pshat. But first, what we see from here is that we have the opportunity every single day to say Dvarim Shebekudusha, and that's not something that we should take for granted. The mitikut of Divrei Torah, Tehillim, Tefillah, Ish Kama Minei Kedusha that we have. It's like a whole smorgasbord. If the Sfardim say such words, I don't know. Yeah?
These days.
Huh? They do. Of so many matamim, Shabbat, Yom Tov, mitzvot, so much kedusha that we come in contact with. But you see from Bilam how much cheshek a person can have for dvarim shebikdusha. Another answer to that question of how it is that Bilam had nevuah, if he was mitzad chitzoniyat, mitzad tumah, the answer is like this: that be'emet HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave nevuah to Moshe Rabbeinu, and not to Bilam. But however, b'chol davar shebikdusha, Omer Arizal, sheyesh panim v'achor, pnimiyut v'chitzoniyut. And it goes like this: Moshe Rabbeinu was given the pnimiyut of the nevuah. Aval yesh efsharut shachitzonim, that they can attach themselves me'achor to a davar shebikdusha. And Bilam and Moshe hayu zelu umadzeh. Like the Chazal say, it says, "V'lokam navi b'Yisrael k'Moshe." B'Moshe b'Yisrael lokam. Ava b'umot olam kam. Mizeh ze Bilam. From the fact that Chazal put together the nevuah of Moshe and the nevuah of Bilam comes to show that the oto makor shemoshe yanak et nevuah shelo was the same place that Bilam got his nevuah. So be'emet lo nitan nevuah leBilam. It was only given to Moshe. But because he had an achizah b'achoraim shel Moshe, biglal zeh, he was able to be yonik from the nevuah of Moshe. But how is that? It goes like this. You have a cloud, kishezekam zenofel. Dibarnu shezelu umadzeh, kishezekam zenofel. And because Moshe Rabbeinu, he hit the rock, v'zeh haya nefila b'darga shel Moshe Rabbeinu, ze natan makom sheyavo Bilam le'achos bazeh. That's why Chukat Balak are read together, because now that you see in Parshat Chukat that Moshe did Avirah, it allows for Bilam to have a yinikah in a nevuah shel Moshe. Kishezekam zenofel. That's why it says in the beginning of the parsha, Vayakam Bilam. Vayakam. Zekam bigla shezenofel. Vayakam Bilam.
נתן לו כוח.
נתן לו כוח. זelu madzeh kishezekam zenofel. But באמת זה לא היה נבואה של בלעם, but that answers the question. It was never given to Bilam. It was only yonek min ha'achoraim shel Moshe Rabbeinu.
That's a חידוש. That's a beautiful.
ונסיים בזה. There's a story that the Hasidim say, זה ממש מאוד מקובל הסיפור הזה. It's back in the Sefer of the Koman Rabbi Netiv Mitzvotecha, where he writes at length. He says that the Baal Shem Tov and the Hachaim HaKadosh, they never met each other, but they lived at the same time. Baal Shem Tov was in Europe, Hachaim HaKadosh was in Eretz Yisrael. And the Baal Shem Tov had gaguim ma'od ma'od to come see the Hachaim HaKadosh. And he sent a letter with his brother-in-law, Rav Gershon Kituver, to the Hachaim HaKadosh asking him if he should come see him. Why? Because the Commander Rabbi explains that the Hachaim HaKadosh and the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, they were both from the Neshama of David HaMelech. The Baal Shem Tov was mitzad hanefesh of David HaMelech, and the Hachaim HaKadosh was mitzad haruach shel David HaMelech, ubiyachad kisheim yifkeshu yavo Mashiach. So the Baal Shem Tov wanted to come see the Hachaim HaKadosh, and he sent him back the following letter through his brother-in-law, and he said, when you have aliyat neshama, and you look for me in the ulamot, if you see me b'koma shlema, you can come see me. But if you don't see me b'koma shlema, don't come, you will not be successful. This is the letter he sent back to the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. L'maaseh never got to the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, but in his aliyat neshama, he did not see the raglaim of the Hachaim HaKadosh. Had he received the letter, he never would have traveled. But because he did not know, he got on a boat and he traveled to see the Hachaim HaKadosh. On the way there, crazy things happened. He stopped in Istanbul and he almost lost his daughter. She almost drowned. Hashem took away all of his madrigot, and there was a tremendous storm that was going to destroy the sea, destroy the boat, and he realized he needed to come back. And as soon as he had a thought to come back, he had kfitzat haderech and he was back where he needed to be. But together, they wanted to bring Mashiach, but he told them, if you see me, you will be matzliach. If you do not see me, you will not be matzliach. But biyachad, mitzad hasfaradim, mitzad hachasidim, Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, and only very few people are called HaKadosh. Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh or Hachaim HaKadosh, from the greatest. Baal Shem Tov is considered to be Mashiach ben David, and Hachaim is Mashiach ben Yosef, ובiyachad שנזכה שיבוא Mashiach צדקנו, אמן ואמן ואמן.